Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Money's with Mover. I am Mover, C.W. Lemoine, author of the Spectre series and the Alex Shepard series. If you're looking for a book that's F-16 related, I recommend the Spectre series. It is the first book is Spectre Rising. It is predominantly about an F-16 pilot and centers around an F-16 that goes missing. There's some combat action, there's some terrorism stuff, espionage, a lot of technical flying stuff. So if you're into that, it was my first book that I ever wrote, so I was more on the technical side because I wanted it to be as accurate as possible. And I was actually still flying the F-16 when I first wrote it. So please pick that up. It helps support the channel. It's available anywhere ebooks or paperback books are sold online, and also audiobook format. So please check that out. Leave a review. It does help. Today's episode, we are flying the F-16 DCS Viper for the first time as a fam flight. As you can see, this is the early access model painted in the Florida Maco's F-16 paint scheme by Porco Rosso. Hope I'm not butchering that name, but he did that especially for this video, and I appreciate that. I don't know if it'll be available or not, but it is an awesome looking paint scheme, and also has the make them tell you no on the door. I don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty cool. So today's episode, probably going to be a two-part episode, just going out and flying the Viper in kind of what's called a TR1 or a transition ride. Much like what I did the first time I flew the Block 30, which was down at Homestead, going out, hitting the tanker, and then doing some advanced handling characteristics like we did with the F5, and then coming back, we'll do some approaches, simulated flameout and stuff. So this will probably end up being a two-part video, doing start, taxi, takeoff, and tanker on the first one, and then splitting it up into the other stuff on the second one. But we'll see how it goes. As you can see, this is the Block 50. I have never flown a Block 50 before. I've flown the Block 25, Block 30, and the Block 42. So the closest to this is a Block 42. I've got about 10 hours in it, about 1,000 hours total in the F-16. The biggest difference is the FLICUS. So that's the flight control system. The F-16 Block 30 is an analog FLICUS, so a little bit different setup, and the Block 40 and 50 are digital FLICUS. So we'll talk about some of the differences. This is an early access model, work in progress, so some of the systems are currently not implemented and some are, and there's some flight model changes and stuff that are coming from Eagle Dynamics. So special thanks to those guys for letting me use this module and try it out, and also special thanks to Thrustmaster for hooking me up with the Warthog stick, which is pretty much pretty similar to the F-16 actually, except for the throttle. But the stick itself is pretty much identical, minus the movement. But that's what I'll be using today to go out and fly it. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so getting in the cockpit looks really good. The VR model is awesome. So when you first get in the jet, basically you're looking over the rail, making sure all the switches are where they're supposed to be. Anything red guarded, you want closed. Engine feed in the norm. This is a big one. Make sure the EPU is not running. You'll walk around. There's a mustard colored disc on the outside, and that lets you know if the EPU's been fired. You'll smell the ammonia. That is a hazard because it uses hydrazine, and that will give you cancer. It's not good. So just making sure all the switches are where you want them. Coming around, cockpit sweep. This one will get you the Cat 1, Cat 3. If you're in a BFM configuration and somebody left it in Cat 3, yeah, you'll be AOA limited, and it's not going to be high performance, and vice versa. So some guys never worked with the Cat 3. They just said, well, I'll make sure I limit it myself. But that's one of those switches where it can get gooned up between goes. This is the ALE 47. Actually, we had the ALQ 213, so I'm not completely familiar with it, although I basically know how to work it. And then the eyebrow lights are a little bit different from the Block 30. We didn't have this switch as well for the RF features, but we'll use that when we go to the tanker. And then coming around to the other side, the biggest difference too is that this has an INS that's backed up with a GPS versus the F-16 Block 30, which actually had an IGI, kind of like what you saw in the Hornet. So the other difference between ground ops, we're talking to the crew chief. We're not using hand signals because he just plugs in and we talk to him.
Chief, place the wheel chocks.
Yeah, so we'll make sure we got the chocks in because I've forgotten that previously. So first thing we do First thing we do is we check the battery. Then once you get that, you go to test and make sure it goes to FLICUS, and make sure you got battery power available to power the flight control system if you lose the engine. Otherwise, you'll have a bad time. And once it's started, clear fore and aft, fire bottle posted. A little different than other airplanes where you check the lights before. We actually check the lights once the engine's running, the generator's online. So clear fore and aft, fire bottle posted, ready to start two, ready. And then we will go, see if I can do it right. Nope, I always go the wrong way. There we go. And in the real world, if you did that, you just accept it. It will start on start one, but yeah. All right, so we got a run light, and now we're looking for 20%, which we have. Throttle over the horn. Lights go out, and now we're just making sure we've got a good start. All right, once the generator's online, the first thing I do is run the seat down. That's A, how you know the generator's online, and B, if you don't, when you close the thing, if the seat's all the way up, you'll hit your noggin. So for me, a fist above the canopy there. It'll run through.
Altitude. Warning. Jammer. Counter. Chat flare. Low. Out. Block. Caution.
There you go.
Bingo.
So she's gonna. And now we come back around and we turn everything on. This is also a little different. Block 50, block 30. So some stuff will be out of order now. The INS is actually not fully implemented yet. It's a work in progress. So when we come up here to list 4, this is where we'd enter the coordinates. But since there's no coordinates to enter, we're just going to say it's fast alignment. Usually it'd take about 4 minutes. And then I'd go to the test page, which also is not implemented yet. Clear any MFLs, anything like that. And then make sure the DTE is loaded. So I'd hit that, which is back there. The other thing too is to turn on the radar and the radar altimeter, and I forgot to turn the radio on. This would usually already be on, but you'd call for words on ops and then start on ground. So bad on me for not taking the video game seriously. All right, so once it's run at idle for at least 30 seconds, we'll do the sec check. So we'll clear fore and aft for that. Go to sec. Nozzle closes. This is also not implemented yet. When you snap it to mill to idle, it actually should move. So it's not currently doing that, but it is something they're working on. So we'll call that good. Do a flight control cycle. So basically, cycling the boards, cycling the speed brake, speed brakes out, all the flight controls, and that's just getting the air out of the system, the hydraulics, any bubbles or anything. All right, and once that's closed, we're good. We'll do a FLICUS reset. Hold that, reset, and now into the bit. And on the bit, we'll go to the FCS page, FLICUS page. While it's doing that, go test my fuel. That's good. Check the reservoir and the wings. Make sure everything's balanced. And that's all good. And we can start setting up for our with a course of 92. Nope. 92. I'm going to turn that down because that's annoying. So flight control bit check good. We would check the MFL, check the PFLs, everything would be good. We've already cycled the speed brake as part of the flight control check. We got 3 green. We checked the fuel quantity, avionics, MFDs, and now we go digital backup. Make sure it says DBU on. I think they would check the flight controls here. This wasn't something we had in the Block 30, but I'm not sure if they would check them again, at least cycle it. But anyway, then we go to the trim check, up, down, and again, we're talking to the crew chief the whole time. Right, left, where left or right, and then go disconnect, and then make sure it doesn't do anything. And then once we're done, we'll center. Then they'll go big movements, aft, forward. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. Kick. So with it forward kick, it gives you the bigger movement. And then left, right, and then they go brakes. You go channel 2, and he's under there. So you're tapping the right brake. Movement, no movement, movement, no movement. And then channel 1, movement, no movement, movement, no movement. And that's just making sure that the brakes are operating in both channels as appropriate. Let's see, EPU gen. So at this point, I tell him to go ahead and remove the pin. I turn that off while he removes the pin. He shows me the pin. Okay, clear fore and aft. Oops, nope, don't want to do that. And with the pin removed, we'd run it up 75 to 85 or so. And then come back over here. EPU gen should get an air light on, telling you it's running off air and not the hydrazine, and you got a green light. And you got 4 flickish channels there that its power is available to that. And so that's good. And then we come back to idle. And it's a little delayed in the sim. It's not yet implemented, but it should go out pretty quickly. At that point, clear to disconnect, and we're off to the races. So that's ground ops. Usually happens a lot faster than that, but I guess I got to tell the dude to get rid of the chocks. F8, F4,
Chief, remove the wheel chocks.
Yeah, you do that.
Unable to comply.
Why? I wonder if I could jump them. Nope. Why is he unable to comply? Asshole, do what I tell you. F8, F4, F...
Chief, remove the wheel chocks. Unable to comply.
Why? Douchebag. Alright, and we're back. Had a road crew chief that decided he didn't want to do it today, so we got a new one. And we're back started, and it's time to go. Same thing, check the brakes, make sure the nose wheel steering does what we want it to do. All right, so the game plan, we'll get to the end of the runway. We'll do an unrestricted climb because we've got plenty of fuel on board. Go out, meet the tanker, refuel, and then go out to the airspace and do some advanced handling stuff, single ship. And this is exactly what I did on my first MQT ride out of the V course. We had 2 clean Block 30s, and we went out, hit the tanker, did an unrestricted climb. We're doing like 400, 450 by the end of the runway. It's a very long runway down at Homestead. And did the unrestricted climb, met the tanker over the field, and then went out and did some AHC in the whiskey operating areas over the water, and then did approach to Key West and an approach to Homestead, and then did some simulated flameout patterns and stuff like that. So this is exactly what you'd go do. Now, again, caveat, there's some stuff that's not implemented yet. This is a very early work in progress. I have talked to WAGs, and the stuff that is not working, they know about and that they will fix. So I'm not going to be too critical of that. Overall, it looks realistic. It's a good looking model. All right, so approaching the runway, we do a quick flight control check, and the biggest thing is seat heat lights, which looks like this hot start's already at that. So lights are on. Pitot heat's on, and we're going runway 08. All right, everything's good. We'll check it mill. 90% checks, that's good. And now afterburner, watching the nozzle open just like anything else. Airspeed's alive, we'll click that off. Because we're doing an unrestricted climb. Oh, pitch is a little sensitive. Get to 400. And now we're climbing. Hell yeah. Probably need to be on departure. And we're unrestricted up to flight level 230, which will be 1,000 below the tanker. And as you can see, it's a rocket ship. The thing about when you pitch up in a jet like this, the reclined seat actually makes it look even worse. We're on over to 2 and start working the tanker rejoin, which is on 69. And I believe it's button 10. Oh, shit. And we'll check our ops check, make sure cabin's pressurizing and all the good stuff that you would do on your checks there. Standard tanker airspeed's about 0.75. Well, it's about 310. So it might actually be a little fast. One of the things they are fixing is the drag model. I don't know if it's drag or power, but I'm in mill power here, and it's underpowered. So I think they're working on it the next update, but it's all good. It's not too terrible. See if, nope, 10 is not 251. We'll make it 251. And now the tanker magically shows up. All right, so let's talk to our tanker. F6.
Texaco, Chevy, 1-1. Request rejoin.
Chevy 1-1. Texaco, proceed to pre-contact at 24,000.
And there he is on the radar. Should be able to pick him up. There he is. I'm visual. Probably should have been looking for him earlier, but it's all good. We're in trail now. About a mile. So at this point, it's a good time to go nose is cold. Switch is safe. And he's turning. That'll help us out. All right, go ahead and open our AR door. And it's been 7 years since I've refueled, so we'll see how this works out. And you can actually do this calm out. When the boom's extended like that and you go to pre-contact, if it moves out of the way, you can do this entire thing calm out. If we were multi-plane, we would actually send to the various observation positions, one up, one down, one pre-contact, etc. Go pre-contact, stable, ready. We'll call that good enough. Although it's a little far.
Ready, pre-contact.
Cleared contact.
Alright, so now we're cleared in. AR doors open. Noses are cold. See if we can do this. And I don't know why he's in this constant left-hand bank turn, but that sucks. We go roll out eventually. So the big thing is you drive towards the boom, make him miss you, but I'm not 100% confident that this is going to work. Or why we're in this constant left-hand bank. And now we're looking at the lights. So it's, there you go, he moved it. So it's don't fuck up, asshole, right? So down, forward.
Contact. You're taking fuel.
And I should have gone the fuel page. I didn't. Usually I would bring up the bingo page so you can see that you're actually taking fuel, but I forgot. So I'm aft. And when you're connected, he can kind of drive you around because you're a very light jet. Oh, that's going to be a breakaway.
Contact.
There we go. Yeah, we lost him
You're
for
taking fuel.
we lost him for a second there. He unplugged because we got to the boom limits. Oh, little burble. And he's going to send me back to pre-contact.
Contact. You're taking fuel.
And it's not unusual to fall off the boom. It happens, especially when you haven't done it in a while. It ain't easy. I think it's a little bit easier in real life.
Transfer complete.
Transfer complete. Okay.
Disconnect.
So we hit the disconnect button, door closed, and now we go up to the observation position. And if we had somebody with us, they would be getting gas, and we'd be hanging out up here. And we look down, we make sure we got the fuel, and he's going to coordinate our clearance out. And he's going to tell us, you know, whatever our next point is, which for us is just staying in the airspace, so we're good. So clear us off 1,000 feet above in this case, and then contact departure.
Altitude.
And we're off. See you later. So refueling's cool, and then you gotta just make sure you go back to all your previous switches. So there you go. That's refueling. It is, you know, a lot of it is sensitivity to flight controls. I did a couple clicks nose down trim, which sometimes you can do, but you know, it's like flying. It is fingertip. It's basically fingertip. It's close trail. So use the lights, use the tools that you have, and go from there. So that'll do it for part one of flying the Mighty Viper for the first time in a TR ride. Part two, I'm gonna film this all at once, but part two will be going out to the airspace, doing some advanced handling characteristics. I've got a couple maneuvers to try out to demonstrate the AOA limiter and kind of the performance characteristics, and then we'll do some patterns. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please pick up Spectre Rising if you haven't already. Leave a review. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Excuse me. No. Oh! About a lot of that. Pretty quiet with the doors off. All pots too. Don't be a douche. That's rule number one. I can tell you now.